What's up, Haymakers? Yeah, just coined that one. How's it going today? I am Aaron Limpany. I am the video and film director here at Junk Removal Authority, for those of you who don't know me. And Lee is in the air, probably somewhere over Virginia right now. He's on his way up to New Jersey to pick up a new truck. That's just a coincidence. We don't actually plan our states that well. If you guys have any questions or comments today, feel free to leave them on there. I am watching on a screen right here, so I won't actually be typing those comments in response to you. But if you put them out there, I will be getting to all your questions and comments. So we're going to start today's episode off a little differently. I'm actually going to share a little bit of my background with you, and then I would love to hear what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you on a junk removal job. This can be the nastiest thing you've ever seen, the coolest item you've ever picked up. Just give me your crazy stories. Let us have them. So my background, I actually started working for Lee at Junk Doctors a few years ago. I was at NC State at the time, and I needed a position that was full-time, that made me a little more than the average job out there, and one that I could fit around my school schedule because I was in school for full-time programs as well. So Junk Doctors seemed like the perfect opportunity. I interviewed, took it, got on the truck, and learned quickly that it was hard work, but it was pretty rewarding, and you could get some good tips, and junk removal was kind of cool. So we had some crazy stuff happen to us over the years. One of the first things I remember was actually a situation where we were called to just remove, an apartment full of items. I had no idea what was in there, showed up, and literally floor to ceiling, there's bed bugs everywhere. I mean, they're on the walls, on the ceiling, live, crawling everywhere, on the TV, electronics, you name it, they're there. And we very quickly backed out of that situation. Exterminator came up, said it was the worst he'd ever seen. We had to quarantine this poor woman in a separate room of the apartment. She didn't really know what was going on. Something was going on with her where she wasn't, completely mentally healthy, and she was just covered in like bite marks and blood from on her clothing from the bed bugs. So that was a very quick wake up call that, man, there's some very bad situations, and you gotta quickly decide to get out of those ones. So we did not end up doing that job. One of the ones we did do was an old fridge. Pretty classic call, but this one was a fridge where the power had gone out, and we responded to this one, go to the back porch. The client wasn't actually home. We were just picking it up while they were away. And myself and the other person on the truck went back there, went to move the fridge, the door fell open, and maggots went everywhere. I mean, these things were spilling out. The smell was awful. We had to go off the porch for a minute, take a breather, come back with a strap and strap that thing shut. And I kid you not, we went straight to the dump with just that fridge. We dumped it, and that truck, you could still smell it from inside the cab for a couple of days afterwards. It was one of the worst smells I've ever had. So if you've got one like that, please share. I'd love to see it in the comments, and once you share, we will actually read out your story on air right now. One of the other craziest things that happened was an entertainment center. This was for a personal organizer who was helping a fairly wealthy client out. And this client had an entertainment center that was just massive. I mean, it was bigger, it was wider than this whole studio. I think it was about 16 feet wide. Fortunately, it was in about 4 pieces, but it wasn't apparent that 2 of those pieces came off. So we spent about an hour trying to remove these things, and we had to pop both ends on dollies. We had to support the middle with a dolly to get it down the stairs. The homeowner helped. He was all for it. He wanted to help. He was giving us granola bars, having a great time. The personal organizer helped. Both of us were straining to the max. Once we got all 4 pieces of this thing in the back of the truck, it took up over 3/4 of the load in the back of that truck. It was absolutely insane. I think that thing must have weighed 1,000 pounds altogether. So that was not the most comfortable situation, but we got the job done. Another time, we were working for a personal organizer, and we went down in the basement of this, had to be 12,000 square foot house. I mean, this place was just monstrous. And we were pulling a bunch of tile and things out. Turns out, the room we were in used to be their bomb shelter, apparently. So they had concrete blocks built up, and they had, from ceiling to about 4 feet off the ground, they had concrete blocks, so you had to duck under them to get in there. And they had a giant steel door that they could shut behind it to kind of shut off that area. So that was one of the more interesting things I've seen. But all of this pales in comparison to what I think is gonna give y'all a run for your money on the best junk removal stories out there. I had to get a little water for that one because this one's good. So in Mooresville, North Carolina, which is where the junk doctor's office is located, there's an apartment complex. Standard apartment complex, you know, looks like any other one out there. And two of my buddies were on the truck for this job, and they show up, normal situation, they go in, very clear that it's a borderline hoarding situation. You know, there's a smell, there's a bunch of stuff piled everywhere, it's pretty typical. They're inside, the couple is showing them around, you know, showing them everything they'd like them to take. It's gonna be a big job. And they get into probably the third or fourth room, and all of a sudden the wife kind of stiffens up a little bit and just collapses, goes down hard, out of nowhere. And my buddy on the truck just responds immediately. He's like, oh my gosh, you know, we need to call an ambulance, let's get her out of here, let's get her some air. So they start to take her outside. They've, you know, picked her up, and immediately after, the husband goes down. And at this point, my buddy is kind of concerned. He's like, okay, what is wrong right now? What is in this house? Is there like a gas? What's going on? And as he's trying to pull these two people out of the house now with his partner on the truck, his partner goes down. And at this point, I mean, I would have been scared for my life. I would have thought there's some chemical that's just knocking them out. He gets on the phone. He's got 911 on the phone. He starts pulling these people out of the house. He gets them outside, manages to get all three of them outside, get them some air. The fire department shows up. It's this huge hazmat situation. And turns out it was just the smell that was getting to him. Apparently opening the door had kind of stirred stuff up that hadn't been stirred up for a long time. And it knocked them all out. So this made the local news. I mean, they had 3 different fire departments there with hazmat crews that rotated out for several hours. It was just a wild situation. We heard about it on the news later that day, and of course we all screenshotted it and sent it to our buddies on the truck and all. But that was pretty wild. So let's hear yours. Let's get some feedback from you guys. Hear what your craziest story was. Some other highlights from Lee. At one point he had found a Super Bowl I ball that was signed by the entire Green Bay Packers team and Vince Lombardi. I think he still has that somewhere. But there's just some wild stuff out there, guys. So I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, while we're waiting for those stories to come in, I'm going to give you a little more background about me, kind of my role at JRA, and then how that ties into you and your junk removal business. So once I got hired at Junk Removal Authority, I was finishing up at NC State, and I had the opportunity to take a job with an established company or go ahead and make an offer to Lee. And I went to Lee, I kind of proposed a position. I was like, I know you're trying to build this company, Junk Removal Authority, and I feel like I can be of huge help, especially since I've been on the truck for so long. And he accepted my offer, and I took a significant pay cut to take that job at first. And here's how this ties into you. Sometimes you need to look at the long game and see what you can make over time and what you can accomplish over time. And usually the route that's going to get you the best results in the end is not the same route that's going to get you immediate results. Had I taken that other position, yes, I would have initially been paid more. I would not have loved my job as much as I do here. And I would not have had as much potential for growth, for making an impact on other business owners, etc. So I took a big risk, and it has paid off tremendously because I get to do what I love. At the same time, I invested a lot in personal video equipment, in myself, in training courses, etc. I knew video, but I knew I could get better. So in your junk removal business, you have the opportunity to do the exact same thing. You have an opportunity to invest in advertising, to invest in branding yourself. And this isn't just a pitch for JRA, by the way. This is, you should be investing. Because if you're not, nobody knows you're out there. Nobody's booking you. Nobody's becoming a potential repeat client. Nobody's coming back around to your business. Nobody can find you. Picture this. If you're searching for a service, and let's say it's anything, right? You need an electrician, you're not an electrician. If you want to find an electrician, what are you going to do? Are you going to go out and drive around and wait till you see a sign that says electrician for hire? Are you going to drive around and wait till you see a billboard that says electrician for hire? Are you going to turn on your TV and wait for an ad? No, I guarantee you're going to go online and you're going to search for electricians in your area. And that is the exact same thing that every customer is doing for you to find you as a junk removal company. While you're doing these searches online, you're using particular keywords, you're using particular search patterns, you're looking for a company that looks a particular way online. If you go to a website and it's just all text, there's no images, it's all text, or it's just a poorly put together site, it's got fuzzy images, it's not clear what they're doing, it's not a good situation. You want to go to a site, understand that that company is trustworthy, that they have serviced other people, that they've done a good job, that they're legit, they've had reviews. They're not just going to take your money and not get the job done right. They're not going to burn your house down, right? You want someone to do service the right way. They want you to do service the right way. So your online presence is who you are to your customers. They don't know you. They can't know you unless you put yourself out there, get known, and present the right image to them. So we're going to go ahead and break off here a little bit and start getting some of these comments coming in. So Good Karma on YouTube had a freezer the other day which had meat unplugged almost 4 months. Ouch. Been there, and that is a tough one. Good on you for getting that one done. Had a job, oh, this is also Good Karma. Had a job with $600 in gold and silver. Good Karma, was that gold and silver that they were getting rid of? Because that's kind of amazing. That's a nice little tip right there. And then we got a hello from Ian J. What's up, Jonathan? How you doing today? And let me get on Facebook. Sorry, guys, running the show here and taking your comments as well. So I'm going to pause just a second, make sure I'm not skipping over anybody. Perfect. Yeah, send in those nightmare junk removal stories. Send in those good ones. There's lots of them out there. Even if the show's over, we still want to read your stories. We do come and look at these comments. So send them in. Perfect. Yeah, so as I'm saying, your personal brand, your company brand online is the most important thing that you can have. You have to have a way for people to find you, and you have to present yourself in the right way if you want them to book, if you want them to come back, if you want to make money at all. Oftentimes, you get slow, right? Times are slow, things are getting a little tough, it's not your busy season, the calls aren't rolling in. The first thing you want to do is, hey, I need to cut my expenses. That's not the right approach. Your expenses are significantly lower than your revenue, right? Absolutely. Otherwise, you are not making a profit and there's no point to your business. So obviously, if you're in business, you are making a profit, so your expenses are less than your revenues. By cutting expenses, all you can do is reduce what's going out by that amount. You're not increasing what's coming in, and in fact, you're probably decreasing it by a higher factor than you're decreasing your expenses, which means if your revenue is here and your expenses were here, now your expenses are here and your revenue's here, right? Because why are you spending money? You're not just spending it, you're investing it to make more money back. Think about the long-term results of what you're doing today. You may be in a panic. You may be almost out of money. You may not have anything coming in. That's fine. I understand that mindset completely. I think all of us have been there. Anybody who's an entrepreneur or who is a borderline entrepreneur has been to a point where you're like, I don't see any way I can make this work. There's no way I can pull myself out of this. But there is. You just have to stick through and find a way to continue the project. A lot of huge tech companies, for example, and a lot of huge manufacturing companies will invest a minimum of 10% into their R&D, their research and development budget, regardless of how much they're making, regardless if they're bringing anything in. The reason why is because if you're not doing that, you are falling behind and you will never catch up. Yes, you may run out of money before you end up with clients if you're spending, but you are guaranteed to fail if you are not investing. Long term, you will not grow your business and you will not become hugely profitable if you are not investing no matter what. And I have never gone all in on an investment and had it not pay off. Because once you do, once you take that leap, You have nowhere to turn. You have no going back. You have to succeed. And sometimes just putting that pressure on yourself is all it takes. I understand you want jobs right now. So do I. I wish there was an easy way to make that happen where you just throw $100 in and you've got 20 clients lined up at the door. That would be amazing. All of us would be happy. That's not how it works, unfortunately. People need to see your brand over and over again. They need to see who you are. They need to grow that trust. They need to see you on multiple platforms. They need to search for you and find your business. Some people are ready to book on the first click. That's not most people. Most people want to shop around. Most people, look up how much junk removal costs and they're like, I might just rent a truck. Then they get into doing those details. A week later, they realize that's going to be way more expensive and more of a hassle to do it by themselves. Then they come back to search again. In all of those cases, if you haven't appeared every time they've researched, you're not going to be the company they go with, which means if you're not spending enough money on ads and you're not appearing for them, they're not going to find you and they're going to go with someone else. There's plenty of other factors, whether competitors are in your market and they're advertising a ton and they're pouring a ton of money into Google ads, or if they rank really highly on SEO and you're new and you have to take some time to get up there. But all of that is about investing and out-competing the others in your market. It is possible, but you have to stick to your guns and you have to be willing to take that leap and sometimes spend money that you don't know you have in order to make it work. If you don't spend the money, it won't work. If you do spend the money, there's a good chance it will. But you have to be willing to invest and take the time to do that. And it sucks, it's hard, I get it. So we've got some more stories coming in right now. Let's check them out. So Good Karma also specified that $600 in gold and silver was in the trash. That's insane. Awesome find. And Junkin' Jack Flash found a safe with $50K in it 5 years ago. Junkin' Jack, that is wild. Guys, when you find something like that, what is your response? Let me know. I had one job I was on. We were cleaning out a house. They were very specific. Everything goes in this one room. Literally everything. There were dressers full of stuff, etc. In moving something, what looked like family heirloom pearls fell out. And we had a choice at that point. We could pocket it because they had said everything goes. But instead we made the choice to return it. We said, hey, are these yours? And they were over the moon, ecstatic. For you guys, especially as business owners, we got a phenomenal review. I wasn't the business owner, so that's not directly impacting me, but it did impact me because I was bragged to my boss on. And we got a pretty big tip out of it. So I felt good. I didn't feel like I'd done anything wrong. I felt like I did the right thing, giving it back, etc. But if it's in the trash, you have a choice to make. So what choices are you guys making? This is an interesting one. And then Hami on Facebook has asked, when do I know that it is time to up my Google Ads spend limit? Hami, if you are reaching your budget and you're booking jobs, that's the easiest way to know it's time. If you're talking about your bid for like an individual click, it depends on what position you want. So Shane's our ads guy. Hear him talking all the time about, in most markets, it's absolutely the best to be first on ads. People are going to click on you first if they're going to ads, and then you'll get that client. So it's worthwhile to spend more on that click, because if people are going down to the second and third, they're often price shopping. And if they're going to that second and third click, more than likely they'll click on you, they'll check you out, then they'll go click on someone else and may or may not end up booking with you. So even though that click is less expensive, they're much less likely to book with you, so you end up spending more oftentimes on customer acquisition. Whereas if you have that bid high and you're in that first position, you're much more likely to book that job. So hopefully that answers your question pretty well there. Junkin' Jack has responded, cleaned out a dentist office in a house and found $1,800 worth of gold caps. Junkin' Jack, you are just finding all of this stuff. I mean, come on now, that's insane. I don't think I've ever come across a wad of cash or anything on the job. But if you have, people, let's hear what you did with it. Let's hear your opinion on that. It's kind of a moral dilemma there. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. Anyways, that pretty much wraps up the main things I wanted to cover today. So if you've got any final major questions, or if you have a story to share, please do so in the comments. Even if we're off air at that point, please share your stories, and we would love to hear them. We'd love to check out what you guys have found. Post pictures if you want to comment on the JRA page, etc. We'd love to see them. Otherwise, please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. We put out the best content, the best information in the junk removal industry, and we go live every Tuesday and Thursday. Normally it's Lee. Sorry to stand in for him today. He is in the air, so hopefully I got some good stuff for you. We got one more comment coming in before I end this show, and this is Supreme Empire Junk Removal on YouTube. Got a job to haul off over 20 cubic yards of condoms. That's a good one. All right, that's going in the Hall of Fame. Where was this from, Supreme? I'm very curious, because that's a full truckload. And why? Expired, and I hope, new in the packaging. Otherwise, I do not envy you on that job. Anyways, please leave the rest of your stories. We'll check them out. Las Vegas makes sense. Great. And we will see you guys back next Tuesday, and I think Lee's going to be sharing about this new truck he's getting. Anyways, for the time being, haymakers, take care, make that hay, be successful, invest in yourself, and let's grow those businesses, guys. Have a good one.